All right, welcome back. We're still going to one more. I don't know if it's one more, but there's a lesson here that I want us to extract a little bit further lessons from the Jeezy and Jeanine story. Okay, let's talk about Jeezy and Jeanine. Okay, Jeezy is a rapper, American rapper. Hello, Mo Fresh. Good to see you. Jeezy is an American rapper, and what you may call it, what you may call themselves. Jeanine is she's a talk show host, okay, TV personality. They got married just about a few years ago, and about 2 years. About 2 years. Their marriage lasted about 2 years. That's about it, unfortunately. And today, there's reports that came out. Somebody who is also close to them, insider, allegedly says she's fighting for her marriage. All right. Now, I know you see that little topic on the screen over there. Just hear me out. Okay. Hear me out. Okay. Hear me out. Let's talk about it. The danger of fighting, actually, it should be the danger of fighting for your marriage. Okay. Oh, yeah, we could say fight as well. But I think it sounds better when we say fighting, right? For a marriage during divorce, maybe it's more so the downside, right? The downside of fighting. Yeah, I think it's more appropriately put, the downside. I'll keep it that way as the topic. But the downside of fighting for a marriage during divorce is what I want to talk about. Okay, so there's news broke out, not broke out, some few days ago, yeah, we can say breakout, that Jeezy filed for divorce, right? So Jeezy filed for divorce, and obviously that kicked against the typical rhetoric on the internet that it's only women that file for divorce, blah blah blah, and stuff like that. So, but what we've heard today in the news, what we've seen today is that she's decided that she's holding on for hope. She's holding out for hope, and she plans to fight for her marriage. She's hoping that he will get back in his senses. I'm trying to see if I can see a proper statement, right? So this was earlier this month. It was revealed that Jeezy has filed for a divorce from his wife of 2 years, Jeanine, right? Reportedly, the rapper is also seeking joint custody of their 1-year-old daughter, Monaco. What a name. The pair also had a prenup in place and were already separated, according to reports. Well, there was also another report yesterday saying that they had distance. Is that what they mean by separated? Has he been living in the second condo in the other city, on the other side of town, on the other side of the coast of the United States, right? News of the duo's divorce came out as somewhat of a shock of fans who have seen. I'm reading from Hot New Hip Hop, right? .com. On social media in recent weeks. With that being said, there's been a lot of speculation surrounding the catalyst for their split. Some think that privacy concerns are to blame, while others suspect distance, differing approaches to parenting. We talked about that yesterday, right? And more. Neither of the two have spoken out themselves since the news broke. However, recent reports suggest that family expectations, we talked about that yesterday, and expectations that are off, family expectations values were off, right? Though it appears as though the divorce is amicable, it doesn't look like the divorce is amicable. But anyway, reportedly, as of today, Jeanine reportedly wants her family back. According to a source who spoke with Page 6, she's devastated that Jeezy filed for divorce. They had that the host wants her family unit back. That's the host of The Real, right? I think they're The Real. Not Your Views, right? I'm sorry, The View, right? I don't know. It doesn't matter. Anyway, she did not get married to get divorced. This was not a part of the plan. This is not how she ever imagined things would go down. Okay. Even though Jeezy has filed, Jeanine is holding out hope that he would be willing to sit down and work things out. All right, so this is one of those things that, your natural knee-jerk reaction when you're going through this kind of stuff is to fight. Just fight for the marriage, right? What does fight mean? That's first of all, what does fight mean? And I thought it'd be a good one to talk about in a few minutes before we get back to the main business of this live stream. Right? What does fight mean to you? Chinya says, I hope Jay will calm down by coming to the drawing to Jay. Is it Jeezy? Is that what you mean by Jay? If it doesn't work out, he can move on. Right. You hope he calms down. Okay. You're talking about Jeezy, right? Okay. Much better. Good to see you. I've seen your name, but I don't think I've seen you on the live session. Welcome. Says, I think they were naming her after the Principality of Monaco. Oh, okay. Good to know. I think Jeanine was blindsided. Yeah. Most men that have gone through divorce claim that they were blindsided. They claim that particularly from, not that they weren't served properly, but they didn't see it coming, right? I think it's natural. If you're not the one who served the breakfast, it's pretty natural to feel like you were blindsided, because you never think that any small conflict can be enough for the other person to file first. Unless you're the one filing first, you never see it as, whatever the issues are, you never really see it as big enough. So it makes sense that they feel that way. If that baby video congratulating him on his book didn't work, nothing will work. He can even interpret that as manipulation. That's the funny thing. The way the human emotions work, it tends to kick against knee-jerk reaction or like obvious best move to make, right? The emotions kind of like tend to work opposite of that. Human emotions tend to work opposite. He might have even interpreted that, particularly when there's crisis or there's damages in the relationship. He might have seen it as manipulation. You know how somebody's apologizing to you, but you feel like the issue has not been addressed, and it feels like they're trying to brush the issue under the rug. It's like, okay, I'm sorry, and you're like, it's like, I'm sorry, it's supposed to kind of fix everything, but it works against what you're trying to achieve. This is why people need to learn how emotions work. No, forget learning. Learn it, but in addition to that, remain a student of emotional intelligence. Okay. Jesus' name is Jay. I think I saw his name somewhere earlier on today. I forgot. Something Wilson. Is it Jay? Interesting. Okay. Anyway, Jeezy, American rapper. All right. So now, the danger of fighting for a marriage during divorce. First of all, I don't think there's anything wrong with fighting for the marriage. It just depends on if your method of fighting is going to work or not. Okay. Most people's method of fighting is not going to work. Most people's method of fighting is calling, crying, over showing out on social media. For example, the baby video congratulating with the book and all that kind of stuff. That's some people's idea of fighting. And that type of fighting will not work. That type of fighting will work against the idea of them coming together. Okay. And most people's type of fighting will basically rub the other person up the wrong way. Okay. So, for example, holding on to that person is literally, if it means not letting go, it will not work. Okay. In fact, precisely the only thing that works, that increases the chances of them getting back together, is to let go. I know that kicks against knee-jerk reaction. It kicks against conventional wisdom, right? It's like, I'm fighting. You should see that I'm fighting for this marriage and just fall in love back with me all over again. Yeah, that's not how it works. Because there's a reason why he's running away from that relationship. Okay, if I forget that, there's a reason why the marriage is inside of Poto already. There's a reason why there's damages, right? And anything, most people's idea of fighting is like trying to just just rub the wound small, and just, and then there's no, it's this is why we call it manipulation and controlling, or particularly manipulation in this case, is that it seeks out for a quickie cutter, like a quick way of fixing the issue. Let me just say I'm sorry and get over it. Let me just celebrate you. Never mind time, process, right? Patience. Like now, just forgive me now. It's the same idea of trying to manipulate people to forgiveness by saying things like, oh, the forgiveness is for you. The forgiveness is for you. Just forgive and move on. Yeah. And the person is like, I know some of them might even be like, yeah, that's true, that's right, that's true, but tomorrow they will bring up the issue again. You're like, why are you still bringing up the issue? I thought you said you forgave me. No, I forgot that I forgave you. Yeah, I want to forgive, but it's difficult. I'm having a hard time forgiving. Right? That's the best case scenario. If they're able to say that they're actually having a hard time forgiving, that's actually the best case scenario. They are very close to possibly forgiving once and for all, if they can say that. Most of the time they can't say that because they're actually in the middle of another new argument. They feel the same way they felt the first offense. So it's very difficult, right? So a lot of time when people say fighting for their marriage, they're trying to use manipulative methods. They might be inviting family members from whom are here, or from Oshogbo or Bumosho, to come and help them beg their wife or their husband to stay. It only makes things worse. For the most part, it only makes things worse. And the worst part about that is that people are not able to explain that exactly how they are feeling. They're not able to put it into words exactly how they're feeling, So it gets it's a very difficult, that's why I always say it's easier said than done. So if she's hoping and that hope is kind of getting out from their camp, or if it's true, it only makes sense that she's showing it. She's probably trying to kiss up to him and trying to beg him to stay and to, please don't leave, like, let's work it out. That's not gonna work. The reason why it won't work is because he will start, there's a reason why he's trying to run. He will start to feel like it's clouding his judgment. The best thing to do is to let go so that he can naturally, organically come to a place where we say, oh, well, I want to keep my family together. Now, obviously, when you have fear that you might lose your family, that's an extremely difficult thing to do. Right? You feel like every day that you wait, that you don't, quote unquote, fight, they're slipping away from you. Right? That person is slipping away, right? Well, if you remember, if this is a typical situation, if you remember way back, right? The person was not forced to be in a relationship with you, right? They weren't forced to be in a relationship with you. It was organic. For a typical situation, it was organic. People took their time. Nobody was forced in the situation. So you can imagine now in a situation where there's damages, there's crisis, meaning we've sown together, sown some kind of seed of resentment. You now know each other. There's a level, significant obviously, level of see finish, which is why somebody is filing for divorce. This is the time that you're actually going to need the organic rebuilding things back up. The more so now is when you need it, because there's been damages, right? This is now that you really need it. D-Love, welcome. I see you, my sister. How are you? All right. It's now that you actually need it the most. Not when you didn't know each other, right? Everybody was falling in love. It was organic. Well, during this damages that's going on, divorce, somebody just filed for divorce, is when they need it the most. You need things to be organic. And the idea of calling this family member, post something on social media so you can appease them, will work against the goal, because they will feel like they're being manipulated. The worst part is that they can't explain their feelings in words, but that's how human brain works, right? They will feel like somebody's manipulating them. It clouds their judgment. The best place for them to rekindle things is to have as close as possible to clear judgment, so they can actually make that decision for themselves. Okay, and you can actually increase that. You can make that faster by letting go. What does that look like in action? You acknowledge that you didn't get here overnight. You have to acknowledge that. What did somebody say earlier? What was the word? Was it Chiye? What was the word that you used earlier? Let me see if I can find it. Yes, was it? Okay, yeah, blindsided. Blindsided. If she keeps saying, in this case, she's the one that's collecting breakfast, right? If she's saying things like blindsided, it's going to be offensive, right? This could be the woman, it could be the husband. It's going to be offensive. Like, what do you mean blindsided? I've been telling you for the longest. If you're saying you're blindsided, that means you're not willing to change. You're not willing to learn. So the first thing is to acknowledge that you didn't get there overnight, right? It just takes self-awareness, a level of emotional intelligence to just acknowledge that, no, we didn't get here overnight. I understand. Let me know if you change your mind, and leave it at that. Now, that's an extremely difficult thing to do, because everything in you wants to, if you're the one that wants the marriage back, you want to fight, right? These are the dangers. I guess one danger, but multiple dangers and so many dangers, right? Of the idea of fighting for a marriage. Your natural self wants to, to resist the reality what just happened, and resistance, persistence, they tend to go together when when you're dealing with people's emotions. So if you let go, right, the letting go is a shocker, because most human beings don't know how to do that, right? Imagine if somebody is pulling a rope, they're pulling a rope. Let me see if I can find a good picture to illustrate this, right? Imagine, right? Let me see. What do they call that? I think there's a name for it. Right? If two people are pulling a rope from two sides of the rope. I think I found something. There you go. Okay. All right. I found something cool to use for illustration here. Yeah, I think it's a good one. Hold on one second. Yeah. All right, there you go. Let's use these two guys right here. So imagine if both of you are pulling, right? If both of you are pulling, the other person is pulling. They're saying they're going their own way, but you're pulling them back. Right? Now you get stuck in a tug of war. Yes, thank you for that. Thank you. Now you're stuck in a limbo, right? They're leaving, they're trying to go, but you don't see that they're also pulling, right? The only thing you see is the divorce. You feel the pain of the divorce. You feel the reality of, wow, this person is leaving me. That's what you feel. So you're trying to pull them back. Don't go. I'm holding on to hope. I'm fighting. Stay. Please stay. What does Tari say? Tari said, please stay. Don't leave me. Right? So what does Tari say? Tari says, I came back home to fight for my marriage, but he's engaged in active argument with a woman who is running away from him. Right? That's war. Right? So now you can't see that they're fighting. It looks like they let go. But that's not the reality. They're fighting for divorce doesn't mean they're let go. The reality is that you all are, especially if there are kids, you're stuck together actually for the life of those kids. That's the reality, right? And you need to be sure of that, and you need to know that and be sure of it and be confident in that. Like, if that person belongs in your world, they will find their way back organically to you. And if they can't find their way back to you, yeah, the damages were too bad. You guys are not meant together to be together, whatever, right? But if you keep pulling them in the name of you're hoping to hope, and you keep pulling them to stay with you, it's war. You can't see that as war. You think you're trying to draw them, you think you're loving them and all this kind of stuff, but it's a bad idea. Okay, so now if this red person lets go of the rope, what happens? Okay, anybody can go in the chat, please. If you're listening to me, if you're engaged with me, hit 1 in the chat. Hit one. Let's go. So we can get back to the other stories. Hit 1 in the chat. If the person in red right now, this illustrative human being, if they let go of the rope, what will happen? Anyone wanna tell? What will happen if they let go of the rope? Let's go. What will happen? Let's do it. If they let go, what will happen? I'm waiting. I'm coming to the chat in a second. So if one person lets go of the rope, if the person in red lets go of the rope, what will happen? Let me see. Okay, the other person will fall. Yay. Yep. They will fall. What does that look like in real life when we're dealing with emotions? What does that look like in real life if we're dealing with emotions? A fall, shock. Any other words you can use to describe if you let go and that person falls? Any other words at an emotional level you can use to describe that fall? Any other word will work. Tell us any other word you think will happen if one person lets go and they fall. Let's find a word that describes what happens to that person that falls emotionally. All right. Let's see here. The white one would fall backwards. Yes, the one in white will fall. Nini says devastated. Well, devastated, yes, but there's another level. Devastated is emotion, right? But remember, they're already devastated. That's why they're filing for divorce, right? Like the last thing that Jeezy wants to do in this situation is to file for divorce, but he found himself in this space. He's given up. He said, you know what? This is not going to work. What did he say? He said, irretrievably broken. No chances of reconciliation, right? So he's already devastated, right? But what happens? But he's still pulling, because at an emotional level, he's stuck with you. He's stuck with you. He's filing divorce because he's trying to run. But that's when a person files for divorce, it doesn't mean they are suddenly happy. Never mind what Housewife of Atlanta said. Divorce party, never mind. All of them are liars, okay? Divorce is a devastating thing for anyone to be going through. Either they serve the breakfast or they are being dished the breakfast. Either side are devastated, right? It looks on the other side, the other person is running away, which is why a bunch of men on social media are pointing fingers at the woman who filed for divorce. The reality is that both sides are devastated, but it looks like that person is suddenly your enemy, right? Because out there, they file divorce and destroy the family. That's how your brain is working it, right? That's how you feel. But the other person that's filed for divorce is the last thing they want to do is file for divorce. They're just trying to survive now at this point. They deem the marriage as, you know what? If I don't take care of myself, this marriage is going to destroy me, right? That's how they see it, but they're still in a state of devastation. That's why when people come out of divorce, they still need to go through healing. That's why anybody coming out of divorce trying to teach people without going through healing will only destroy more people. Okay? So, there's a certain level of anxiety that you have when a person files for divorce. You're anxious. You're always waiting for one day you wake up. What people were doing today when I was watching the live stream of after the body of Mohbad was exhumed, you see a lot of people in the chat saying they were fantasizing about the idea that the dead body will wake up. Nigerians are weirdos. I am a Nigerian, so I can say that, right? They see a bunch of people in the chat fantasizing about the idea that it's just going to wake up, right? Am I saying it's not possible? I didn't say that though, okay? But if this one wakes up right now, what about the other dead bodies? Should they wake up too, right? That's not how life works. So, but anyway, the anxious, I'm talking about the anxiety, the anxious, right? So when somebody files for divorce, they try to leave you, right? That creates anxiety, ongoing anxiety that just makes you're always anxious. And you're not anxious means you're not in the present. You're obsessed with the past, you're obsessed with the present, you're hoping. Going back to the word hope now, right? We're going back to the word hope. What is Jeanine doing? She's hopeful, right? There's nothing wrong with hope. Hope is a very useful tool when you're going through life crisis, okay? But there's a place you get to that in that hope that you start losing yourself and you're missing out on life, right? And letting go there's a blurry line between letting go of hope and letting go. And there's that sweet spot you're looking for where hopeful is not mutually exclusive from letting go. There's that sweet spot that you're looking for, right? And that's when you say, I understand. Let me know if you change your mind. But you don't hold yourself hostage, right? Of course, you take time to heal. In the middle of taking time to heal, they might come back. If there is room in your life for them to come back, then you decide to actually learn what you need to learn about marriages and relationship before you go into that situation. Because if you don't do that, you repeat what you did before. It's your shadow. It follows you everywhere you go. Okay? But when the red guy, okay, in this case, we're talking about the red right now will be Jeanine, okay? When she lets go, right? This is what's going to happen to he doesn't look like he's holding on to anything, but he is. It doesn't really have a choice. He's holding on to something. He's still part of their lives. Either he realizes it or not. Okay? But when she lets go, right? When she finds the sweet spot between letting go and hopeful, if it's necessary at all, right? Because once there's a place you let go that the hope thing is like, when he comes back, he needs to earn me back. He needs to literally earn me back. Because how dare you? I guess, not how dare you, it's an attitude, it's a mindset, right? You were willing to let go. You couldn't let go because we're stuck anyway. But you were literally actively attempting to let go of our marriage. You've lost all sense of value for what we had. If a person is in any type of relationship with you like that, and if they are trying to sever that relationship like that, they've lost all sense of value, right? So holding on to it only make things worse, right? If they do come back, they need to do the same work you're going to do, because clearly they've lost all sense of value, okay? And I'm talking about the dangers now, right? This is what happens when Jeanine lets go of that rope. She's going to effectively pass all of that anxiety that she has on him. It's going to feel like, wait, why is it so easy for her to let go? Because there's a good chance she's already begging, she's posted on social media trying to appease him. If she suddenly stops, right, he's going to be on his butt. Now, it doesn't necessarily look like that on the surface. You just have to trust that human beings have patterns, and they have when it comes to emotions, and that's just how it works. If you've been doing something and suddenly you stop, and that person is engaged actively in life with you, which is the reality, divorce or not, right? If you let go, they're going to feel that shock, and you have to understand that they feel that shock. If that shock is not even good enough for them to look back and say, so you're not going to say anything, right? If it's not good, then you need to, now here's the thing. You shouldn't be waiting for them to come back. The wait is a dangerous game. It's a very dangerous game. What you should do is the same thing we talk about here all the time. Re-engage self-love, re-engage self-respect, re-engage self-worth, because clearly they also mimicked this the way they value is also they've been mimicking the way you value yourself. That's why they were looking to let go, because there's no value in being with you. There's no a person who is filing for divorce does not see value in continuing life with you. That's the point, right? So when you let go, right, distance make the heart fonder, right? Anything that's readily available is taken for granted. All those principles, right? That's how the human mind works, right? When you let go, they're going to feel it, okay? But if you let go and you start waiting, you will break, okay? You will break because you're a human being, and you're going to continue pulling the rope again, and then it gets worse because then you're not consistent. You're doing back and forth, right? So the idea of most people when it comes to fighting for marriage is a terrible, terrible strategy. It's a terrible strategy. Okay? It makes the other person resent you more. It demonstrates to them more so that that they already think you don't have value. The more you beg, please come back, I'm over, the more you do that, the worse it gets. Because subconsciously it's like, oh, confirmed. Yeah, she has no more value. Nobody wants her or him. Right? So is this manipulation? No, it's not. Because remember, in reality, there's some kind of value that's lost. You should re-engage working on yourself. You should do that. Anyways, that's what you should do. And there's only so much energy available for you to be spreading around for no reason. There's only so much energy. You should put all that energy into working on yourself. And if you're afraid, like, what if I do that and then they leave me? Yes, what if? Can you handle that? Because that's if you can't handle that, maybe that's why they're trying to run away from you. Because clingy, needy behavior, nobody wants to be around that. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go doesn't mean you're still not fighting. Actually, it's a form of fight. But this time around, you're putting yourself first. Because if you have no value, they don't want you anyway. Right? In fact, you're fighting for your life. A bad marriage is a function of funky people that are not wholesome, people that are not whole, people that are struggling with their own life. They try to come into marriage and they try to create a good marriage, and then they blame marriage for it. No. It's because at least one of the individuals in that marriage is trash. That's why that marriage is trash. At least one person is trash. And if at least one person is trash, guess what? It makes the other person trash. Because they can't function in their best self, right? Okay? So that's why the idea of most people's fight is a bad idea. It's something that's, that's why I said the idea of most people's fight. Fight is, if you value something, you fight for it. But you can't value marriage over life, over a good life for yourself. You can't. It doesn't make sense. I know it makes sense on paper to a lot of people, but when you think about what marriage is, it's an institution, and any institution, social media, government, any of those things is double-edged sword. It's how you use it. You can have good set of rules of law in your books. If people don't use it properly, they can use it to manipulate other people. They can use it to oppress other people. The same rules of law, right? So it's very, very important to pay attention to all these nuances. Let go. Let go doesn't mean you're not fighting, but fighting for the marriage and not fighting for your life literally works against getting the marriage back. If the goal is to get the marriage back, one of the first few steps. Hold on 1 second. All right. The idea of fighting for a marriage when you haven't taken care of yourself is just an oxymoron. It doesn't work. Okay. And if you need, and everything that's worthwhile in life is a process. So you need to respect time, process, patience in that process. And then if you can't wait through that process, maybe that's why that person is running away from you. Maybe that's why that person is filing for divorce. Just maybe, perhaps. Maybe that's why. Right? But it's going to be easier said than done. It's very difficult. Right? But that's why you need to re-engage purpose. You need to re-engage working on yourself. And you need to just, if you're just aware already that it's a difficult thing, then it will make sense to you. Okay? To make sense to you. But that's the best chance of getting that marriage back. Let it go. There's nothing out there in the streets for anyone anyway. Everybody will come back inside anyway. Okay? But no, they will run from that inside if you're needy and you're clingy. So let go is one of the hardest things for human beings to do. And in this case, it's the same thing. All right. Mario Tafa, good to see you. One may also become resentful. Yes, resentment is a whole, that's a chunk of the components of everything I've been describing. Absolutely. It depends if he fights for the marriage as much as she does. No, that's not a real thing. He's literally is running away. So what you just said is not the reality. Okay? It's not the reality. Now, if he's fighting for the marriage just as much as she is, they wouldn't be in the news. They're in the news because somebody gave up already. Okay? Somebody said, you know what? So imagine somebody went to file for divorce. They're fighting for their life. That person is fighting for their life. We don't have to agree with them how they decide to do that, but he's fighting for his life. You might even say, oh yeah, he's just looking to do his shekushe, he's just looking to have his cake and cake. Good. He's fighting for his life. Right? So if one person is focused on fighting for their life, I think you should fight for your own life. I think you should fight for your own life. There's a reason, like, no, but it's not always my fault. No, we don't talk about faults and blames here. We're just talking about the reality of life, how things work out. There's an ecosystem, okay, and it's balanced. It's fair already by default. Well, especially when we talk about romantic love, it's balanced. It's fair already. You just have to see the result you're generating, and then if you like something else, you have to move accordingly. You have to adjust. You have to pivot. Something about the way you're doing things is not working. Not you now. We're talking about between two people, right? So it's not just moral compass that we try to bring it to it. There are two human beings involved. So something about the way we did things before did not work, and one person is trying to run away. And the one thing you're looking to do always is to find unity. If they're looking to run away, give them what they want. And give them the freedom, because you're stuck with them anyway. In reality, this is just paperwork. Give them what they want, but let them know that you can offer listening ears if they decide to change their mind. If they decide to change their mind, they now have to fight in the marriage. You now have to go back and do the work. That's when you now do the work. You can decide if you still want to stay with that person, because you do have that autonomy and you have that agency to decide that, and you should re-engage that. And one of the things that gets killed when you experience rejection, you think you lost all agencies because your mind is telling you you're not wanted, you're of no value, everything, like it goes down, like your self-esteem goes down the drain when you experience rejection, right? And that's one of the major reasons why you need to re-engage your personal purpose, life mission, your own life, right? And if it belongs there, if you belong together, you will find your way back organically. But that hope thing, I would be careful with it, very careful. Yes, Chinya said, we as humans are something else. Yes, sir. It is. So she will be wasting her time fighting for the marriage then. Yeah, because the value is lost. Remember, they have differences in family values. She should be, the best way to not waste time is to fight for her life. She needs to rebuild herself back. She needs to become hot in his eyes again. That's not going to happen if she's begging for him to come back. That's not going to happen. I mean, it can, but the chances are, if everything else were equal, the chances are lower. Right? So the best way you increase your value in the eyes of people is build your value. Focus on building your self-value, your self-esteem. That's where all the focus should be. And that effectively has a downstream effect on the idea of fighting for marriage the right way. Remember, they're stuck anyway. There's nothing out there in the streets for anyone, unless we're talking about extreme cases like abuse or anything like that. There's nothing out in the streets, okay? All right? The person you marry them for a reason in the first place. And there's a good chance when you're going through divorce, the sense of value in that is lost because of some experiences, resentments, not knowing how to handle crisis and stuff like that. But you're not going to force them to see the value unless you build that value. And one of the factors in building that value is to not be readily available for a person that doesn't see value in you. You handle your business as a grown person, a grown woman, a grown man, right? And then the rest of it, you work on yourself. Meaning, if you have a household, you continue to take care of your children, you continue to take care of your responsibility, right? But you focus all that emotional energy on yourself. They will see it. If they don't see it, it's something else you don't understand. Leave it alone. Still leave it alone. When they do decide to come back, they probably will, okay? Because there's nothing in the streets, okay? Yeah, it doesn't matter if they filed for divorce 2 months ago or it's finalized. It doesn't. All of that does not matter. That only matters on paper, okay? Because emotions does not give a shit about any of that stuff, okay? When they do decide to come back, now I would hope that you're wise enough and you say, we need coaching. We need coaching. We need to learn how to actually make this work. They came back because they're now suddenly in love with you. Maybe they pin you against the wall when I kissing back and forth, like in the Hollywood movies, right? But if you don't take care of those other issues, they will, the cream always rises to the top. They will come back. So at some point, you're gonna have to say, we need to, let's engage coaching. That's something that my wife and I did, just to make sure that we don't fall for the okido, right? All right, cool, Mama Alpha, how you doing? Good to see you. Anyway, that's that with regards to so I would just reassess what we mean by fight. What do you mean by fight? If it doesn't include fighting for your own life, your self-worth, your self-esteem is a waste of time. Precisely, that's the word that I have for you on that today. All right, I'll be right back.